Hello and welcome to our Brand Coaching podcast, episode number 42. This one I am going to cover off investing in a coach and why obviously it just goes beyond the price, but we'll probably give some updates before we actually get to that point anyway, because we like to dance around the fucking bush.
Dance around the bush.
Yeah, and Mel's here, co-host Mel is here as well. I forgot to introduce her.
Hello. I don't know where to go from here now. We normally quite all right. We've had a couple of days, or quite nice days together, haven't we? Recently. I don't know if anybody listened to the last podcast, but it felt like we was doing an awful lot of kind of work, and no play as such.
Yeah, I think the past few weeks have been heavily work focused. Like even on a weekend, we weren't really having time off, and then that guilt sets in where you think if you stop, you're being lazy. But we've had a little reset. We went to Hawksmoors last night.
Yeah, we did. First time for me. I know it's a favourite of yours, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of my favourites. It's not somewhere you go to all the time because it is quite expensive. Obviously, when the bill came, I said to Mel, guess how much it is? And she was half the cost of what she thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and it's interesting that because like I thought it was that perception of. I mean, the food was amazing. It was really, really good. I had, for anybody that isn't interested, I had the beef carpaccio. We both had a fillet steak. And you had a pud, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you pay for what you get, and I think when you are dining out, I'd rather have nice food, and I do believe, like, you pay a little bit more, you are going to get not only that service, but the quality behind it, which probably ties in to what I do.
Yeah, so what kind of, like, obviously you've mentioned that this podcast episode is around, like, I suppose investing in your health. Like, what was the reason for, I suppose, bringing this to the forefront?
I think quite a few people, some people don't understand it. It's people that aren't coached by me, but they don't understand the cost behind what I do and why certain clients would pay the amount that they do for me. And it's always outsiders that haven't really experienced it or they've just experienced a PT. So when obviously they see my prices, they're like, well, you can have a personal trainer and get 10 sessions a month for that price. I'm not there to be competitive and I'm not there just to pluck a number out of thin air. Obviously my prices went up as my knowledge and my investment in myself did. I didn't just start and think, do you know what, I'm going to charge as high as I can and see how I get on with it. Over the last 4 years, yes, they have increased, but my investment increased with that as well. It wasn't just, I'm going to charge this and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, how do you find that a lot of your clients, like, cost is at the forefront of their mind?
I think the clients that I've got, I'll choose clients that are suited to me and I'll let them know that they're suited to, like, what I'm going to set out to be. And I have said no a few times, so if it was just about money, everybody would have been a yeah. Mm-hmm. But no client has ever said, oh my God, you're too expensive. And especially, obviously, I operate a little bit differently now with hybrid, not holding the hand through the entire personal training side of it. Mm-hmm. I've yet to be declined on that. Is it suitable for everyone? No, but I feel like the people that have done it have gained more from it because they're focused on what I'm setting outside of the gym sessions and to actually building the confidence in the gym and not holding the hand all the way through it, because if you take me away, they probably haven't learned anything and haven't built that confidence.
Yeah, and I guess that's why you're kind of classing it as an investment, aren't you? It's not just to hold my hand and let's just get through the next few weeks.
I think if you see something as an expense, then there's always that setting, like, negatively anyway. But if you see me as an investment, like, you're going to improve your health. A lot of people have gone on to improve themselves, better themselves in the job, have more confidence, get over anxiety, the mental health improves. And there is some clients that do see me as a non-negotiable. So other things would be, I'd say, if they were struggling financially, other things would be put down before they'd even, like, hesitate to put me up to the side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you were certainly one of those non-negotiables for me. We were literally just chatting before we jumped on the podcast about, obviously for me, that was actually coming to a coach and understanding the investment was a big outlay in my financial kind of spreadsheet. But I think I'd gotten to a point where I was like, well, I actually really need the investment in myself. Just purely for me more than anything, it was more wanting to feel better and wanting to all round, essentially, like not just in how I look, but in, I suppose, in my fitness. So I personally had to reframe why or what I was paying for you kind of, I suppose, what would I otherwise spend that money on? Because I think we've said it between us, like, I think whatever you earn, you'll always spend.
Yeah.
So it's down to you to decide where you're going to invest that money. And I'd got to a point where I'd spent years and years and years going out on a night out, and you can easily drop anywhere between, I don't know, 100 to 200 to 250 sometimes, just even on getting the dress, getting the outfit, getting the taxis, getting the pre-drinks, getting the drinks in. If you have food, twice a night, if you're anything like me. No wonder I needed a coach. But yeah, that reframe of like one night and then the regret the next day, like, that wasn't a good investment in my eyes.
No, and it's not to say you can't enjoy these things. It isn't like, I wouldn't say to someone, do you know what, you have to cut all that off when you do invest in a coach, but it's seeing the value in it beyond obviously just that price. Like, you're healthy, you're fitter, you're stronger, you feel better in yourself, you're confident, and you've gone on to actually freelance as opposed to being employed. Like, your health has a lot to do with things, and your focus and productivity increases from that. So I have always said, like, investing in yourself is priceless. I mean, some people do put a fucking good price on it, but I've never really put a price on it. I've paid £250 per month just for an online coach. Never see them, never meet them. And it was only point of contact once per week. So it's what you see value in. If I told someone a price and they didn't know what I did, how I operated, what they were going to achieve from it long term, then they wouldn't look beyond the price. There's no value in a number until you actually experience it. And I think you probably thought you were just getting a personal trainer. You're going to have some calories set, you're going to have a training plan, and off you go on your little merry way to crack on with it.
Yeah, I definitely thought that, and I've said it before, where my original plan was to spend just 3 months with you and then bugger off. But I think I quickly learnt that what I was actually paying for was worth much more than what I'd ever anticipated. And especially having seen and obviously been on the journey with you, because we got quite close during your rebrand process, that like, you are one of those people that is quite happy to invest in themselves, like the education side of it. Obviously going to quite a lot of AFM meetings and events, and educating yourself that way, where you could quite easily sit on you kind of sit back and not really want to learn or have to learn. And then obviously investing in yourself and in your business. Like, for example, the business mentor that you chose, like, she charged a pretty penny for sure, but you valued that investment in yourself.
Because I saw the bigger picture. Like, without obviously joining AFM, would I be where I am now? No. So that short-term investment, obviously, which was a lot of money, like, it has been worth it, and I think it's helped me grow, and it pushed me outside my comfort zone. So as scary as it was, like, I think my initial thought was, holy fuck, I can't do this, and then can I do it? And then obviously I did it. So, and it's probably the same when people start coaching, like, it is overwhelming and it can be a lot at first. Like, I am there to break it down. Some people take to it straight away, and some people take a good few months, like 3 to 6 months. That's why, one, I do set that 3-month commitment, because you won't gain anything if you can't even invest for that long. You're not going to gain off a short, like, 1 to 2 months and think that you can know everything. And I think that's people's perception when they've had a PT, or I know what I'm doing now. But the knowledge and application, like, everybody is still learning. So are people that do a block book session of 10 with a PT going to know it all? Absolutely not. And you probably don't gain any of the experience or qualities that you need to carry your journey forward and then bring it as a lifestyle. Like, it shouldn't be teaching someone to train and then off they go, not knowing how to bring the nutrition in and how to sustain everything that they've built with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've witnessed it again with a number of your clients, and even myself. Like, life throws all sorts of shit at you. So, for example, I came to you with a knee injury, and then you helped me kind of like rehab that through like training. But if I couldn't actually, for example, touch wood, I ever broke my leg, then I would expect you to still coach me through still movement and an understanding of, right, okay, well, we're probably not going to be able to move as much, so let's pull what we need to pull back or add what we need to add on. Like,
yeah, and I'd always research what someone could do. Like, I am not a physio, so I don't advocate that I will do full rehab, but I have that knowledge where I will know if someone's got a certain injury, what they can do and what they can't do, and how to mend that. Because I think a lot of people's initial response when they get injured is to stop everything, and that's probably the worst thing you can do. My little quote is rest is rust, and obviously I do help people through that. It's the same with you. Like, I've had a few people come with knee injuries and they are fine now, and it is probably because they are moving more. It was same with Barry when he did a good job on snapping his shoulder and his clavicle. Like, we've rehabbed him and he's actually moving. So,
but you understand the psychology behind a lot of that stuff as well. For example, I don't know what I've done to my shoulder. I'm hopefully going to find out properly. But like, you've still been coaching me, you've still been like training me into like, okay, well, this is what we can pull back on. But also, like, just be more mindful of actually it's a little bit of psychoses as well in terms of you feel like you're like mentally focusing on that area because you think it's going to hurt more than what it is.
Yeah, if you tell your brain that you're injured and you can't do anything, you convince it anyway. And it's happened with a few people, and I think it was one of the Level Up events. There was a sports psychologist there, and even he said, like, that brain will focus on that injury. So sometimes when someone's having surgery, it was mad what he said, they'll cut the other Achilles heel to draw attention, and then the other one ends up healing on its own because the brain's then focused on that. So it is mad, and obviously it does interest me, that kind of thing anyway, but people's perceptions are massively wrong. Like, you can still move when you're injured, you just have to be careful, and obviously it's listening to your client.
Yeah, and again, but you see the bigger picture, don't you? You don't just see what they're doing in the gym.
Yeah, and sometimes you do have to focus on, educating your client there. That's why it is more, like, it probably frustrates me more when people say, oh, you just do training plans and nutrition and off you go home, a couple of sessions, but you're mentoring someone, you're guiding them, obviously your application and your knowledge is there. So I'm more than just a personal trainer in a gym, because it feels like a therapist at times. It's a full-blown 360 approach is what I take.
Yeah, but I think you said, again, going back to that investment aspect, like, out of completely on a different line of thought altogether, but when I use Invisalign, and granted I still need to finish it, but I paid what $3.5K for my braces effectively. But when people go, oh, that's a lot, and I'm like, actually, no, it's not. Like, I'll have my teeth hopefully from now through till hopefully when I'm like 80, 90. Like, I don't plan on losing them, but I'm planning on investing them and making sure that I've got the best possible, like, I suppose, structure in my mouth. That doesn't even make sense, but
it does. It's obviously you've seen a goal, you've committed to it, and you're seeing it through. You're looking beyond the price, because obviously the value for you is obviously focusing on your smile, and having nicer teeth. It's the same with me. Like, I had laser eye surgery, and that's what I didn't pay for it. My dad did at the time. That was $3,500, but obviously I need it redoing. But at the time, like, it was invaluable. The amount that I saw that you paid on contact lenses and glasses add up over the years, and you probably spend more. It's just that initial outlay that people have that, is it blockade up, and they think, well, that's really expensive, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, because you're probably not used to spending that money, but if you think about it in the long term, again, going back to your business mentorship, going to like the braces, to your laser eye surgery, it's stuff that sets you off on a better path for the rest of your life. And I think that I don't think I'd be as well set up for the rest of my life. I'm in my like early 30s now, but I still want to be training when I'm in my like late 50s, like 60s and beyond. Like, I'm in a desk job, I'm quite sedentary all the time, so I still want to have that knowledge to be able to move and have them habits formed now. And that for me is the biggest investment that I can make in myself, because you only get one body. Like, for example, one of my next door neighbours, as soon as I moved in, he wasn't really working because don't know what he'd done with his hips, but he obviously hadn't moved enough. To the point where he was crippled. You could see he was in absolute agony moving around, and I'm like, you're not even that old, like, you're late 50s, and you're in absolute bits. Like, it's not alive. I think he was out of action for over 8-9 months. And look at what that's cost him. He's not been able to work properly. Like, his mental health had deteriorated. His family were frustrated with him because he wasn't going anywhere and doing anything. So it's at a bigger cost than just a financial aspect for me.
Yeah, and I think if people just reframe it, they don't see a coach as an expense, or you just put me through sessions but charging this much. That's why I will block how many sessions someone has. I won't let them have too many, because one, I don't want to hold the hand, but two, I want them to learn from it and take it away and actually have a nice healthy life and longevity. So start and see it as an investment. Obviously you invest in yourself, you're prioritising your health, you're not just thinking of the here and now, but almost like you're thinking of the future and you're thinking ahead. And it does, obviously I provide you the tools to support you and carry that on. It isn't just, I don't keep all the knowledge that I have, and obviously people pay me and that's it, you'll never learn anything. I want you to have the tools to carry on, and that's obviously what people are paying for, plus yes, my time, that you do spend with me in the gym. If I invest in myself, then it's going to have to come back around. And obviously, the more I continue that, the more value I'll keep adding to the business, which has changed massively in not only time since I started, but in the past year. So I like to have the tools to help the clients actually succeed.
How do you feel like, I know we've talked at length about being more transparent with what you do charge as a coach. How have you kind of like reframed that in your mind?
It was 50-50 because yes, it does, like, you don't want time wasters. Like, I don't want to block out a time, see someone and have a full discussion when A, they might not be right for me, or B, coaching might not be right for them, or it's too expensive. So if I'm taking an hour or 2 hours out of my week to do that, then sometimes it isn't always the right person. So having my prices there probably takes away that time waste for them and me, knowing that I am transparent on it, I'm not hiding costs, but at the same time, I know people won't see a value until they experience it. So it goes beyond just seeing a price, because I know there is people, and it's people that haven't experienced coaching, that just see that number and think, holy fuck, you are expensive. I'm quite proud of myself that I know my worth and I know what I've put into it. Would I charge the same 4 years ago? No, because obviously I was new to it all and I've experienced myself. It's the same. What example can I use? If you go to a top surgeon, you know you're going to pay more for the best surgeon. Like, anyone that's charging more normally has something behind it to back why they're charging that.
See, my analogy would have been more, I don't know why, for example, cars, like a car dealership, you know roughly where you're headed to. If you're the lower end budget, or if you're a higher end budget, you know what end you go into, don't you? But then what naturally tends to happen is you kind of fall in love with that car, and then you end up adding on, knowing full well that this is going to last you more than a drive out of the forecourt, doesn't it? Like, you know where you're going. So I guess from my perspective, is being transparent with your costs, is that you are cutting out the time wasters, but you are also giving people like, right, this is what value I put myself on. And then obviously you've offered a number of packages that kind of ladder down from...
Yeah, because I have said, like, health isn't a luxury. If you want to work with me in person and obviously on the higher package, it will cost more. But it's not to say, one, you can't be part of the team, and two, you can't afford to look after your health, because I've removed that barrier with everything that I'm offering. And at the same time, obviously, coaching is a two-way street. Having me on just myself and you not really showing up or giving any commitment to it is absolutely pointless. And yes, I have worked with clients that probably didn't utilise the tools or didn't utilise the knowledge that I was giving them and didn't succeed. I am willing to admit not everybody is that success, and you don't get through to everyone. And obviously people that I have worked with, some people haven't been suited to me and I've not been suited to them. And I think I'm pretty open on that. Like, I'm not for everyone and everyone isn't for me, and I'm okay with that. But I do think, obviously, coaching, it's about your time, your effort and your dedication that you put into the process as well. It's not just me telling you what to do and you're following it blindly. Like, ask me questions, let me support you, be open and honest. And I think people's honesty and communication, I'd say in this generation, is probably less and less. Like, people don't open up because they feel like everything has to be perfect, or they'll keep quiet, or they think that check-ins are just for the winning days, and they're absolutely not.
If any more, like, the check-ins are more for the bad days and the bad weeks that you've had.
Yeah, because then I can help you step out of that and move away from it and go, like, this is what we can do, rather than just feeling stuck and getting nothing out of it.
That's ultimately what they're paying you for. Like, if they knew how to handle those problems, then they wouldn't need you.
No, exactly. And I am there to guide people. It's not just to take money and get as many sessions, because yes, I could make an absolute killing and take more people on and do unlimited session, because I am asked by some to get more sessions out of me, but I know that what they need, and obviously not just the results, but their actual transformation inside and out, isn't in them gym sessions.
How do you feel about, like, for example, the app access package? Like, naturally what people are kind of like investing in is obviously your time, energy and understanding and knowledge. On the app access aspect is that you then give them the plan, don't you?
Yeah.
Which is tailored to them, and then depending on whether they're on basic or premium, that can then be tailored after every so ever many weeks. That obviously is worked out between you and the client.
Yeah, so even with the app access, I'll still take a full consultation form, which I call the getting to know you form. I know a lot of coaches would just whack a generic plan out, but I still read through that and I make it tailored to that person. So it does still take me a little bit of time, The only thing with obviously app access is you aren't checking in with me, but I give you the option to check in with yourself, fill a check-in out, and I can always read through that. And it's the same with the premium one. Obviously, the premium one we do get assessments and probably a little chat to make sure it's working for you. So it is still tailored. It's just not got that either in-person sessions or the check-ins with me. So knowing that people can still... I think I brought that out so people had actual structure and they weren't just going into the gym following TikTok exercises and potentially injuring themselves or not getting anywhere.
Yeah, and they are more tailored to them, aren't they? Like, what they like moving, how they like moving. For example, one of the questions on the check-ins, for example, and I'm sure it's on the consultation form, is, like, what kind of cardio do you prefer?
Yeah.
Because when I first started with you, like, I preferred, like, long-distance running. Whereas now I'm more tailored towards, like, a short... I think you actually put short and intense like yourself. But, yeah, I think with even with, like, that level of app access, like, you would still have that element of personalisation for them to have the structure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost them the earth then, but they're still investing in themselves.
Yeah, I always say, like, doing something is better than nothing. So if you are someone that potentially can't afford a coach, then hopefully there is other options, and that's why I created it. And it's nice to have everybody obviously part of the team as well. You could probably... It's hard now to separate the good coaches from probably the not so good coaches. Like, people should, or the client should be asking, like, what have you invested in yourself? What do you plan on doing? Where's your direction? Or things like that, where you're going with it. I think a lot of coaches at the minute, I mean, they all like talking each other down. I feel like everyone's outing each other on things, but just seeing that coaches actually invest in themselves to then give back to the clients, because it isn't for me just seeing how much I can earn, and for some reason all coaches advocate getting 10k a month. I just want to make sure I invest back and create a service that does actually help people, because that should be the aim. And everything I do, I would like to add as well, is quite personable. I will sit down for hours, because I know AI is taking over absolutely everything at the minute, and it's taken away the personal side for a lot of things. It's probably something I will never use for that.
No, you like having a good communication, a good relationship with the people that you work with.
It falls in line with my values, though. Like, my values are trust, communication. So I think it falls in line with my coaching as well. So I remember asking you what your values were on the consultation. It did throw you, but if you know your values and you stay aligned to them, then things feel a little bit... Well, they feel better, don't they? I'm not going to say they're easier, but if your values align with your goals, then it is a little bit easier.
Yeah, it keeps you, obviously, what your values, like what you kind of, I suppose, you hold yourself towards, don't they? Like you said, communication for you is key.
Yeah, I think it does. This one thing, it gets my back up when people don't communicate with me or they're dishonest. Like, I've always advocated that I am easier to talk to, and nobody should be scared to open up or talk to me. Like, we're building a trust, and obviously the journey's quite personable at times. So if you don't communicate with me, I can't help. But I'm also... It does annoy me when people don't communicate.
Yeah, well, you're not a wet wipe. Like, if something wasn't connected with someone, then you're not going to be offended by that, are you?
No.
You'd rather them say it.
It's the same if I've worked with people. If I don't click with them and I know they're not going to get the best out of me and I'll not get the best out of them, then I'd obviously tell them that I can't work with them, but I'd refer them or help them in a way. I think that's why I did set an age limit on my coaching, because I worked with someone that was quite young, and I sat her down and I said, I don't think coaching's for you right now. You need a little bit more life experience. And it was probably a little bit overwhelming for her at the time to have a coach, because I do think people just think they're coming in and having a personal trainer, having some sessions, making up a session as you go, smash someone into the ground and off they go. But obviously it goes above and beyond that. Like, if you're in the gym with me, I'm teaching you form and execution. I'm not there to count your reps and smash you into the ground. Like, you don't need to feel like you've been fucking beaten to death.
Do you think the people that naturally do go for the PT type structures, that they have someone to then just go, it's alright, I can do what I need to outside of those sessions because somebody's going to hold my hand for that hour or 45 minutes? Like, do you know what I mean? It's that mentality of, I've got my PT session, I'm going to get really, really drummed into the ground and I can go back and have my pizza, kind of.
Yeah, mentality. They'll think, a lot of people like to feel like they've worked, but there's a difference between being pummeled into the ground, which can be, I'm off put by it. If someone did that to me in a PT, I wouldn't go back. But you've got the other side where people love being beaten into the ground, where they can't walk or move. If you're doing that, then people aren't going to recover, and you're not going to get results from it because they're probably just going to go and, like you said, eat that pizza. You've fucking brought the appetite to an absolute level, and then they're not going to gain anything from it. That's why I think there is still PTs where they'll, block book 10 sessions, you'll pay a certain amount, or I'll never devalue my service where I'll give you a discount for having 10 sessions. Like, you're paying for my service inside and out. Obviously, when clients are with me, they have all the outside service with the app access, check-ins, group support, and I do put classes on. So I think to close this, I know my value and what I offer.
What did someone say about the other week, like about your classes? I think they said that it was enjoyable, like they didn't feel like they'd been beaten into the ground, but they felt like they'd worked hard.
Yeah, do you know what? I've had really good feedback on them anyway. Someone actually come to the gym and actually enjoying it for the first time, not feeling like, you say, being pummeled into the floor, because it's working hard and actually getting something from it, or working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
But I think the way I structure exercise, like, you should have form with it. I'm not looking to just make you jump around for an hour and get out of breath. Yeah. And I think when I did my PT assessment, one of the things were, like, you want to make them feel like they've worked, and it was just getting someone out of puff. Like, I know how to get you out of puff. I can do it all the day long. And I think when I first started classes, I was like a little sergeant major, apparently, or the silent assassin, where I'd make people work. I'd do a solid minute on and have 30 seconds rest, which isn't a lot to recover, but I was making people think, fucking hell, they've worked hard. And that was just in a class when I first started. I've come a long way since then, because obviously I know that recovery is a huge aspect of the results, not just the do.
Well, yeah, I think a few people had said that, just touching on that a little bit, when you brought in the app, with a lot of obviously long-standing clients, the rest period was actually logged within those workouts, whereas previously we were all in a logbook.
Yeah.
You don't really actually understand, actually, I need 30 seconds on this movement, but I actually might need a minute and 30. Like, for example, on a leg press, like, you do need a lot longer rest period, don't you? But it's you understanding, or giving them that understanding that they need longer in terms of more intensity.
Yeah, I've had to have clients where they think that they're just rattling off like one set to another, where they don't rest, and I have to tell them to slow down. It's not to slow the session down, but can you train hard continuously? No, you need that rest period. If you feel like you don't need the rest period, then you're not training hard enough anyway. So there should be that time to actually rest, especially on your big lifts as well. Your leg press, your RDLs, your deadlifts, like, it's normally a minute and a half to 2 minutes, if not more. You can no way go into a set without a rest and think, oh, I'll just rattle on to the next one. I don't think there's that many people that do train correctly anyway, but I think that's for another day.
I think that was what's interesting when I first started training with you, because I was obviously in the gym with you, and I would get that hour slot, but I wasn't paying just for that hour slot. Like, we would sometimes never even finish the whole set or the whole kind of workout. You would then leave me after, like, probably still 15 minutes left, but I think obviously then you were checking my form, you were checking my tempo, you were checking my rest period. Because I think at some points when I first started, I was just going straight into it, and you were like, whoa, hang on, like, have a minute, like, and I felt stronger for taking it a little bit slower. But then obviously having that remained in time, like, I never felt like I was being handheld. Whereas I've had a brief kind of stint with a PT, and like, it was literally that hour was up, right, bang, right, you finish now.
Yeah, it's not. I think a lot of people think you'll rattle through that session, and no, I won't get through a full session a lot of times with people, because we are talking, if it's not personable or like coaching, I'm teaching you form and execution. Sometimes an hour isn't long enough to do a full session, but I'm going through things with you. Yeah. Sometimes we might finish a session, but I'll never make it long for long's sake. But if I've got things to teach you, then it is going to take a little bit longer. And obviously, if I have got clients after that, I can't just stay with someone for an hour and a half. I think there were some PTs that do offer that, but they're charging like 15 quid, so...
But then I think that having that leftover period at the end of the session, for example, gave me that confidence to go, all right, well, I've had a bit of time with Claire, but I can carry on and crack on, because I've learned what I need to learn, and I feel confident in myself. Yeah,
I am a bit anal with form and execution as well, because I feel like PTs probably give up when they're trying to show people stuff, and it is hard teaching people form at times, because some people just don't have any body awareness.
Yeah, well, look at me trying to do a squat.
Yeah, it was your hip hinge. Like, honestly, we had Mel do box squats, and it was probably the hardest thing I'd ever had to teach someone. Because you say to someone, sit down on the couch, they'll do it absolutely normal. If you say to them, squat on a box, then the fucking ass goes one way and the head goes another way.
I think you kept saying, like, oh, you duck ass in it. And I was like, what do you mean by that?
Mel gets frustrated as well. She is a perfectionist.
Yeah, but then again, that's part of your coaching, isn't it? Is that you had to adapt to me. Whereas you might have other clients that just pick things up naturally and run with it, or they might not have, they might have a bad day or a good day, whichever. Like,
yeah, I mean, you've nailed it now because, I mean, you're onto all the big lifts, but you've learned along the way, and your form and execution's pretty much spot on. There's always tweaks with everyone, and I'll always say, even myself, like, we are always learning, it doesn't just stop, and that's what I mean, like, when PTs do block bookings of 10 and they think that they've taught people stuff and you kind of haven't, because the learning's continuous, and I think that's what I want to teach my clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, from a client perspective, I certainly, when I'm not with you, I'm training on my own, like, I do feel like if I know when I've not done and performed it the way that I should have, like, I feel like because I've worked with you and you're correcting me on my form, I feel like I'm doing that naturally now anyway. Like, for example, I think you were not far away from me in the gym the other day, and I was doing deadlifts, and then we had a brief chat, and I was like, that wasn't my best set. You were like, no, your form was off, and I was like, I know it was off. So it's me having that knowledge and that understanding.
Yeah.
Because obviously I don't train, I'm more online with you, aren't I, more than anything. That I can actually pick up on when I know my body isn't working the asset that it should be working.
Yeah, and it's just not even, if people are thinking, what kind of coach do I need? Do I need in person or one-to-one? Like, online coaching can still be applicable, because I always tell clients to video themselves and I can give the feedback on that. Obviously, it's not the same as being in the gym, but there is ways to learn with that, and I'll always advocate, even myself now, I'll still video what I'm doing, send to my coach, but I'll watch it back myself for my form. Because everybody's body does actually move different, so it's knowing what to look for and what the form should look right for that person, because obviously everyone's got different lever lengths, like your arms, your legs. Nathan, for example, he's on conventional deadlifts, but he's raised from the floor with the plates because he's that tall, and that's so he can actually hinge from the hip and not just pull with his back. So it's having things like that, but knowing what you're looking for as well. And that's why I always say to clients, make sure you video yourself so you know what it looks like and you know how it feels and how it should be, and I'll feedback on that in a check-in.
But a PT won't give you that time.
No, a PT won't say that.
Once that hour session's done for that week, you're done. Like,
yeah, I mean, I've had it. I had a PT, I think it was 2012. And at the time I thought, because she looked absolutely amazing, I thought, well, she looks like that, she must be good. And I didn't put it down to any knowledge, didn't check anything that she didn't know if she invested in herself, and it was just based on how she looked. And it was probably the most basic, and now I look back on it, shit thing I ever did, because it didn't give you a good relationship with food. And even training me, everything was ego lifting, like the heavier I went, the better it was. And obviously it's took years to probably undo some bad habits, but knowing what a good coach is versus what your bog standard PT might be.
Yeah. And I guess to people that don't know what they're looking for, what would your kind of requirements be for a good coach, to summarise?
Does your coach invest in themselves? Are they still continuing self-development? Because I always say at least once a year I want to do, whether it's an education course or an event. I probably wouldn't do, I did 3 in a year, well, in under a year, didn't I? I wouldn't overwhelm myself with that again. But asking if your coach actually invests in themselves and what have they invested in. And then you'll know if they actually care about the service or if they are just taking money. So for me, at least once a year, like jumping on a course, brushing up your knowledge, attending events to make sure that you are providing the best service for your clients and not just running them through a session and getting as much money as you can out of them.
Yeah. Anything else in terms of a checklist of what someone, if they're looking for, if they're unsure of as to whether to go for a PT or a coach, like what should they be kind of looking for, do you think?
If you don't want anything tailored and you just generally want to be beasted into the ground, absolutely crack on, get a PT. It's just there isn't really an investment behind that, because you're not going to gain much from it, because I have done both. I've had a coach and I've had a PT. And it was night and day from when I had a PT in 2012 to then investing in a coach in 2019, and it taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot from coaches that have coached me since then as well. So just know what you're looking for, check what they actually invest. a general rule of thumb, a PT will always offer discounts and block bookings. If they've already devalued the service, then that will always speak volumes for me. I've been asked to do it by clients, or if I do it, and it is always a firm no, because I know my value and I know what I offer.
I mean, what's the phrase? Buy cheap, buy twice. Like,
yeah.
If you are paying for a discounted rate, then just probably question why.
Yeah, if you're getting a block of 10 bookings for, what, 250, 300, but you're not getting anything outside of it, you haven't invested, you've just bought something. So then I would see that one as an expense, but just ask yourself what you want from it and make sure that you are showing up as well. Like, it is a two-way street. It isn't a magical tool where you've got a coach next to your name. I've got a coach now, I'm going to do mega. Like, you have to show up as well and utilise the tools that you've been given.
I think one thing I would just add to that, just to kind of finalise, is just think about what your goals are. Like, what do you want? Do you want to achieve something that is short term, or do you want to achieve something that is long term, that sets you up for, well, for me it was definitely for life. So like you said, you can buy cheap and buy twice. You can keep going through PTs, or I think for me, if you are looking for a coach, I'm not necessarily here to kind of just advocate you, is that it's finding someone that marries up with your goals, someone that's going to help you achieve what you need to achieve. And do they communicate themselves properly? Do they actually communicate about what they do beyond just the gym sessions? Because it is just, well, to be honest, that hour a week, your health and fitness is 24/7. Like, it's not just that hour.
Well, just making sure that you know it's investing. Like, even if you're doing something short term, you still want to know that you can carry it forward. You don't just magically keep your results after 8 weeks and think, right, I've worked 8 weeks now, I'd get to keep these forever. It's continuous work, and obviously it is your health. I just think we just live in a lazy generation that want quick, fast, and these mad diets, and it's probably breaking through a lot of the bullshit. But yeah, I've been on the podcasts and moaned about certain Stephen Bartlett ones with the bullshit that he puts on. So yeah, I'll leave it there. But no, hopefully people have taken away and realised that if you do get a coach and you invest in one, it is an investment in your health. It's not just an expense. And obviously, if that coach has invested in themselves, then you're getting the value behind it, not just having the sessions and then off you go.
Yeah, it's an investment in them, but it's an investment in yourself. It's not just to dump a load of money on someone and expecting them to work miracles for you, because that's not the case.
No, make sure you show up, communicate, and obviously put the work in. Things don't come easy, and it does require work, so just prepared to actually work, listen to your coach, and make sure obviously the check-ins and you're honest and you communicate. So yes, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. We didn't intend it to be a long one, but obviously we can chat, and I think obviously when we're passionate about it, and probably for me it's getting things out there that people might not necessarily know what a coach is.
Yeah, I mean, to you it comes second nature. You know exactly what a coach is. I know what a coach is. I live with one. So I think it's just educating people on the difference between the two, and an understanding of what an investment is, rather than just dumping a load of money into someone a month. Yeah,
if you're investing in something, it always has a return along with the work that you do. If you work hard, there's always a return. You invest, there's always a return. It's up to that individual to get the most from it. So just ask yourself, obviously make sure you know your why it's important to you, why it's important you achieve these goals, and they will always change. Someone sets out with a physique transformation for me, but it might change other things in their life. So be open for that, and obviously values should align with it as well.
Yeah.
So yes, we will wrap it up now. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you have, you can give it a like and a share. And if anyone's unsure of what coaching actually is, you can share that with your friends as well, and they might have a little bit of an insight, or a 38-minute insight, in fact. So we will be back next week with another episode.
Yeah, see you later.